Ya nasıl yetiyor menzil ya? Siktir git amına koyayım, Allah Allah. Amına koyayım. Bir düz vuruş daha atmıyorsun amına koyayım. Geri zekalı karakter ya. You lost the lane, you know that, right? I lost the fucking ahli. Amına koyayım. Made a lot of sound. Can be awake. Lost the fucking ahri. Okay, she's not ganking me. Not a good jungler. Lost the fucking game to an ahri. Ananızı sikeyim sizin. Ananızın amanı sikeyim. Maymun orospu çocukları ya. Her sur çıkalım gidelim amına koyayım. Sikerim ananızı. Gördün spacing. Bu işte. Ama kırmızı buff'ı var. Elemana zarar veremez. Adamın ace'i zamanında gelmiyor. Sikeceğim. Bildiğin yaratığa bak. Bahriye oyun kaybediyor. Bahriye oyun kaybediyor. Sırayı tek yerse sik yapamayız abi. W'yu geride bıraktım adama yetişmek için. Yapmamalıydım. Sur verin hadi. Sur ver bitsin. Bekleyin. Ananı sikeyim ya. Good trade. You throw your Q. Has lost a lot of HP from that. Adama dokunma zahmetine girseydin sen lan. Zaten eleman ölüyor ya dibinde. Bundan daha kötü oynayamazdın amına koyayım ha. Sikeceğim. Of course there is an bottom. But it does not fit okay. Sur verin ya, sur ver. just engage right now. O da erken de almamız lazım. Öyle oynarsanız olmaz işte. Maybe I should play more aggressive and focus on the market. Just disengaged, alright. Tapping that. Curious.
stay away from the red buff. Then you can go in.
Ananı sikeceğim ya. Üf.
My countermeasures are ready, even if you are not.
The black rose shall bloom once more.
My countermeasures are ready, even if you are not.
The unseen blade is the deadliest.
Holy fuck. I thought Zerat was mid and Nautilus was support and Irelia was top. Right now we are fucked. I entered the game with Arcane Comet against Irelia. That's not good at all.
to the Ultimate Qiyana early game guide. Today we'll be covering everything for the first 5 minutes of the game that you need to know in order to be very consistent and smurf every single early game that you play on this champion and also on other assassins. No matter what, I got it all covered today with runes, items, jungle tracking and how to play waves. This video will set you up to have very consistent early games on Qiyana. I can't wait to get started. Let's go. The one question that I get the most is, Edo, what do I go in my runes? I've heard this question so often that it's probably something that haunts me when I dream, so I'm just gonna answer this right now. It is not that complicated, guys, and it is also not going to determine whether you are going to climb or not, okay? It is important, but not as important as your actual gameplay. That's like very important to understand. But let me talk about it quickly. I think about runes in a very simple way, and this is the rule of thumb that you can keep in mind for every single game that you play from now on. If Electrocute is better in the lane, and they have at least 2 squishies, I'm running Electro. I don't think about it, I run Electro. Because my job is to kill the enemy mid laner and the enemy ADC. My job is not to kill the enemy Cyan or Darius that is side laning, okay? That's very, very important to understand. If Conqueror is better in the lane, I run Conqueror no matter what. Because it scales really well and it helps me to create an advantage out of my lane. Since this video is about creating an advantage out of the lane, choose whichever rune allows you to do that. Both of the builds in items that I'm going to show you work with both of the rune sets that you can see right here. I want to talk about a couple of things that you can adapt. You can, in theory, run Ultimate Hunter instead of Treasure Hunter, and you can also run Triumph instead of Presence of Mind. The rest is pretty much set in stone, and I wouldn't really change that. In my opinion, you don't need Ultimate Hunter, since we are running a build that has a lot of haste, so that will reduce your ultimate cooldown automatically. Same thing here in the Electrocute tree, but we can also run Cut Down if we really want to. There are like some very niche specific builds where you can go Cut Down and you can rush Hummus and play Longsword early game. That is a bit outdated though, like you can try to play around with it, have a bit of fun, and in that case you would also run Ultimate Hunter instead of Treasure Hunter, because Hummus doesn't provide you any ability haste. I do not recommend that though. My recommendation is go Last Stand, go Treasure Hunter, keep everything else exactly the same. Now that we have the runes covered, let's move on to the items. Next up we have the items. Guys, what items do we go? There are a lot of different builds, guys. There is Hummus Rush, there is Hubris Rush, there is Profane Rush, you can run Dirk into Profane, you can run Opportunity first, which nobody actually does. Like, there are so many different things that people are trying out, but I want to keep it simple, and I just want to give you a build that is viable no matter what. Like, it literally doesn't matter what the enemy team builds or like what champions they have. These 2 item sets will work out for you in like 98% of the games. So for consistency purposes, these are the 2 builds that I chose. There is the Profane into the Axiom, into Cyrilda's, Shojin, and then Death Dance. Let me quickly explain why I like this page a lot. You run this page if you don't need Serpents. So in the beginning of the game, or like in Champ Select, you can already ask yourself, do I need Serpents this game? And you can answer that question with how many shields do they have. There are some champions that require you to go Serpents. Like, if you don't go Serpents, the game is significantly harder, like Ivern. I wouldn't even say Janna or Lulu, by the way. Like, they only have a singular shield, which is not even that big, so I don't really mind not going Serpents into those, unless there are other champions as well. But Ivern, Ambessa, like, those champions have huge shields, so you really, really have to go Serpents into them. Or maybe even if you run into a Yasuo who runs Shield Bow, if you run into a Yon. If you don't go Serpents, you will not have 1v1 potential, because they just get a really big shield in the fight. And it is quite hard to fight them. So in that case, you go Serpents. If that's not the case, you go for this build right here. You rush Profane, you can either run double Longsword or you can run Pickaxe on your first base, depending on how much gold you have. Then you basically finish Profane however you want to finish it. You can either go Tiamat, if you want to just shove and move, you can go Brutalizer. Both are actually fine. And after Profane, I always finish Boots. So you will always have like 1 item core of Boots and Profane. And then you finish Axiom Arc, you finish Cyrilda's Grudge, and here you have Shojin, right? The reason why you go Shojin is because you have a lot of haste. Every single item you have is haste. So what I would do if I would be running Shojin is I would definitely go Death Dance after that as well. Because Shojin plus Death Dance gives you a lot of ability haste, which means that you can basically have no cooldown on your W. You can be permanently in stealth. I think the cooldown with blue buff and with empowered lucidity boots goes down to like 3.2 seconds, so you can essentially permanently be in stealth, which is really important for late game team fights. So this is kind of a build that I personally recommend. If you need Edge of Night, you can run Edge of Night instead of Shojin. And you can also do something else instead of running Death Dance. This is kind of preference, but this is like the 3 item call that you really want to go for. Let's now get to the Serpent's Fang build. The build looks very similar, as you can see. And the same thing goes for like Shojin and Death Dance. Nothing changes here. You can also go for Maw, right? And also, by the way, you can also go for Mercs if you want. I never run Tabis. If I want to run Tabis, I instead just go Death Dance because it's simply better. So if you want to go Maw, you can go Maw as a 4th option together with Mercs if they have like a lot of magic resistance. So that's also totally fine. What I would do is, if I need Serpents, I would rush Dirk on my first base or double Longsword into Dirk. Then I would finish Profane. And then I would finish Serpents after I have my Profane and after I have my Boots. And then you basically just continue this build normally. So this is kind of how I would itemize on Qiyana currently. One big exception, if they have a lot of things, you can also run, and this is a build that I absolutely love, Profane into Axiom into Black Cleaver. Why is Black Cleaver better? Because it gives you shred for your team as well. So your team deals additional damage to those tanks too, because you basically shred their armor, which is super important. So if they have like, I would say at least like 4 or maybe even 3 tanks if they are like really beefy, I'm already considering to go Profane into Axiom into Cleaver, and Cleaver even gives you more ability haste than Cyrilla's Rush. So that's just like one nuance to it, and then you can just itemize normally after. Now that we have the items out of the way, let's move on to the next topic. Here it becomes really interesting, guys. So we have the game start here. The game start is very important, because a lot of people are AFK and they should definitely not do that. There are better ways to spend your time. So you don't waste time when the game starts. This is really important. So I want you to walk into the mid lane to a specific sweet spot that I will show you, and then you check for invades. How do you check for invades? You basically sit in the middle of the lane, you get vision to both of the bushes that are in there, and then you basically see if they are walking into that area or not. And then at like minute 110, 115, you can start sneaking into the Raptor Pit to track the enemy jungle. This is very important, because you want to ping the enemy jungle when they are on vision. You want to just take a look at where they are, and then you can ping your side lanes so they don't die. Because what a lot of people tell me is, either, you know, my bot lane just permanently ends, my top lane permanently ends. And the best way to fix that is by simply like pinging enemy ganks, because if you do that and your team listens, which actually like in 90% of the cases they will do that, and even if they don't, you did your job, and you kind of just have to try, and it will just increase your consistency by a lot. It will still help you to simply have a much higher win rate, because your bot lane is in a better position to win the game, and your top lane as well, in case enemy jungle paths toward top. In order to show you exactly what I mean, I have the Rift Kit open here. So what we can now do is, I just want to show you how I like to approach this, okay? So what I do is out of base, and I mean immediately out of base, like the first 15 seconds when they are done, you immediately run out of base, and I think this will be even more important in the next season, because the camps and everything will spawn a lot faster, right? So the game will be a lot quicker, invades will be a lot more quick, so being fast with this is quite important. I, as a mid laner, run right here, and I place myself on this spot right here. I don't know if you can see it, it's not the best quality here, but there's this specific sweet spot, and you can see whether or not people like move into this area if you stand here, because you have enough vision. So you basically walk up only far enough to check if enemy team is invading, and then you wait until minute 115, or maybe even what, like 1 minute 10 is probably a bit better, a bit more feasible. And then what you can do is you can either path like this and place a Raptor ward, or you can try to path like this. You kind of have to test this and like figure out what works for you, and I would recommend you to place the ward here like this, so you can then see if the enemy jungle is like walking up like this or like this, but you can also just see their CS, which means if they have like 8 CS, you know that they did 2 camps, which is red buff into Crux, and then they will be here, and then they will like continue pathing bot, and at minute like 330 you can then, or like 320 you can ping a bot lane, so they know, okay, enemy jungle is bot side, don't die, and then they will not die. And this also helps you, because if you know that the enemy jungler is bot side, this means that you have to now leave here and you can trade in this area, which means if enemy jungle comes, you can just walk it out like this. Nothing bad will happen, you will not die, and your early game is really, really safe, and yeah, everything will work out your way. Same thing goes for the other side, guys. If you see the enemy jungler arrives at the Raptors with 12 camps, this means he cleared this, and is now on his way toward top side. So, minute 320. I mean, depending on the champion, some champions have faster clears. For example, Zed is a very fast clear. Then you simply have to ping the enemy top laner, your top laner, that they have to be careful, and they will most of the time not die to that gank, and they will have time to back off. And this also means that enemy jungle will be in this area, so you have to dip out to this side of the map. This is a very basic rundown, but it will cover 95% of the cases. This is all you need to know for jungle tracking. And now let's move on to the next topic, which is very, very interesting. Now, let's take a look at the next topic here, which is the first 3 levels. Obviously, guys, we can't cover every single matchup, but there will be a series where I will be explaining every single matchup in a separate video, so make sure to follow, subscribe, so you can actually not miss that, and you can see every single matchup being played out by professionals. And yeah, I'll analyze that for you, and you'll see that in the next couple of weeks. The first main important thing is that you maintain 95% to 100% HP in your first 3 levels. This is really important because you want to play off the bounce. You don't want to waste any abilities on the wave, so you basically use movements to bait enemy abilities, and that gives you freedom to walk up and now CS in peace. Also, if you don't use abilities on the wave, this allows you to poke the enemy champion if they misstep or if they go for farm. You can kind of punish them with your abilities instead of using abilities on the wave. And you need to be really strict with this and not use any ability on the wave. This is like really, really important. If you watch
I thought
Wave
he
on any other
was
challenger player,
trying to
they
queue
will
behind
use
me.
auto attacks and they will give all the other minions because they want to keep their options open in order to trade. As a mage player, this is normal. Like, mage players know that you don't use abilities on the wave and you want to trade with them. If you obviously have to use abilities on the wave to get a cannon or something, that's obviously an exception, but usually you really want to keep them. And then you want to play off the bounce level 2 or 3. This really depends on the matchup. So specific champs have specific spikes where they are really strong, right? So if you play against Syndra, her QE can really deny you a level 2 trade. So I'm usually waiting for level 3 to trade there. Also, it depends on your rune setup. If you run Conqueror, you can trade level 2 a lot more heavily most of the time. You can even kill people level 2. With Execute, it can be a bit more tricky. So it really depends on the matchup, on the specific key ability they have, how the wave is positioned, right? Like, this is a very, very detailed topic, but the main important note for you is that you need to play off the bounce level 2 or 3, and you need to get a beneficial trade. So you manage a beneficial trade in order to get one out of 2 things. You either want to dive and kill your opponent, and the kill needs to be meaningful, guys. If you kill your opponent and they can TP back and freeze the wave, that's a bad kill, because you will lose the entire wave, and it's simply not worth it to waste your flash and ignite for that. If you dive them with flash and ignite, or if you get their flash and you still have yours, that is a big W. Like, that is really, really good and important, okay? So there are differences here, and it's kind of important to like decide that you get a good and beneficial kill for yourself. Or you can simply force a bad base. So they are way too low, they have to reset and TP back without good items. This allows you to now reset with more items. So this means that you now have an advantage out of your first base, and that leads us to the next topic. You can now maintain and extend your lead, and you can do this in various different ways, but there are some very important fundamentals that you need to consider here. The first thing is, don't die on the first wave after your reset. The first wave after you reset is by far the most important one, because usually you don't have a ward up. Usually the wave is
Niye
pushing into you,
dalmıyorsunuz
so it's a
ya?
really, really big wave. If you die on that, it's absolutely terrible, and you basically need to get that. So what we need to do is we need to re-establish vision on Raptors, and the way to do that is by creating a bounce, so you can just push the wave in again, and after you push in the wave, you can place a Raptor ward, re-tracking the jungle, just knowing where they are. And then you have a decision to make, guys. Do you extend your lead through trades, which you should only take trades that are better for you than they are for the enemy champion. So if you lose 10% HP, make them lose at least like 30 or 40, right? You are not going for even HP trades. We have the lead. We dictate the control of the lane. We are not here to take even trades and now throw our lead out of the window, okay? Or what you can also do is you can impact the map through strong side and jungle. So I'm gonna explain this a bit deeper here so you guys understand what this is all about. So what does strong side mean? On your first reset, you want to walk back into the middle of the lane, right? And you have a lot of time to check a lot of things. You can check the map, you can check your jungler's position, you can check a lot of things. But the main important thing that you need to check is your top laner winning or are your bot laners winning, right? That is very important. And also, which jungler is ahead. Usually junglers will be even at this point, so it's more or less about top and bot lane matchups, right? And who's ahead there. And then you want to make a decision, right? You want to decide do you play around bot side or around top side. And this is like the first question you need to ask yourself, strong side. And you do this after every single base, and also when you have a bit of time in your lull states. A lull state is simply a moment where you have nothing to do. When you have like a bit of time in the lane, when you are freezing or something, nothing is really happening. You press tab, you check the conditions of your teammates and how the game is looking, and then you basically make a decision. Do you play around top side or bot side? You never want to play into weak side. If one of your sides is weak, and you play into them, that most of the time leads to losing fights because they are weaker than the opponent. So you really want to play on strong side always. The next thing is you always want to play around your jungler, guys. This is very important, especially for Qiyana and other assassins. So it is really, really crucial that you are aware of what your jungler wants to do. This means if you see your jungler is currently top and he's pathing toward bot, and you see that, it's probably helpful to place a word bot and just take a look at that and be ready in case something happens. This also means that you don't heavy trade in that moment. Otherwise, you will be low HP and you can't enter fights. So this is kind of just one of many different examples of how you can play around your jungler. Also, we talked about the jungle tracking, right? If you see that the enemy jungler is pathing toward top and your jungler is also pathing toward top, what does this mean? This means a scuttle fight could break out. Possibly. So have that in the back of your mind. Think about it a lot more. And consider these things when you are playing your games. If you do all these things, which is quite a lot, I know, but you can take one step at a time, guys. It's not about rushing things. It's about taking this very slowly, focusing on one topic at a time, and then getting better at that. For example, you can focus on your first 3 waves for 2 or 3 weeks. Just have a crack, you know? Have fun, enjoy the game, love the game, take a look at the matchups, and simply try to improve your matchups for 3 or 4 weeks, and that will get you ahead of the curve. And then after that, you can focus on your jungle tracking a lot more. Probably you realize that you are dying a lot more to enemy jungle. Or you realize that you are not aware of where the enemy jungle is. Focus on that for 2 or 3 weeks, right? Just have a crack in the journey, enjoy it, and try to do your best. We arrived at the end of the video, so I have a couple of things for you guys. The first thing is coaching. If you are looking to improve and get better at the game, you can either book a coaching with me personally through the link down below, or you can join the MLA, the best coaching program in the world, in my opinion. I'm a part of it myself. I get coached there on a regular. And yeah, that's something you can check out through the links down below. I currently stream every single day on Twitch, so make sure to follow that. And you can also join my free Discord community. And the reason why that is so important is because you can decide which videos I will post. I do regular polls on there, and you can then decide and vote for the next video you want to see. So make sure to check the links down below, guys. I'm really hyped to see the comments and to see you guys on my stream and in the Discord. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Cheers, peace out, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.
Imagine calling it fictive when I literally pinged it like a million times. Just typical laners.
The fuck am I doing right now? Get the fuck out of my lane. That's great. Who fit this shit?
Gonna place some vision and I want to.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Ultimate Qiyana. What's up guys, and welcome to another video. Today we'll be breaking down the Bayfank's gameplay, the macro, the micro, everything you need to know in order to climb your own
games, we'll be taking a look at every click that he does and we'll break down everything with my commentary. I hope you enjoy, and now let's jump right into the video. Guys, if you truly want to, coaching is the best way to do that. I'm offering coaching at a very low price in order to help as many people as possible. You just have to join my Patreon. You'll get access to daily coachings on my Discord server. You get access to I'll let it by the way. I don't know what people.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Ultimate Kiana early game guide. Today we'll be covering everything.
It's crazy how complicated League is, man. It's so insane how much there is to the game. Gaming house gym sessions will go crazy. Oh, I have no idea, leaders. I'm gonna stream 8 hours today and then I'm gonna hit the gym at like 10 PM tonight. My guy. And I don't even think it's like something bad to learn new things. Like even Curtis said this. Bro, Curtis is so knowledgeable and even he didn't know things about Ziggs when he was learning Ziggs recently. Like I literally like listened to the last BBC podcast and he literally said that he was playing Ziggs and he didn't know like quite some things about the champ. And if even someone like Curtis has that, not problem, but like that situation, I'm totally okay with learning things every day and being wrong. I also think it's a misconception that a coach needs to know everything. A lot of people think that, but it's completely bullshit. It's completely normal to not know specific interactions if you never had to deal with that shit. It's completely normal. Guys, do I pick Kiana here? I want to test out the tech with like Humus and Symbiotic Souls. The setup will be the following. So the setup will be this one here with this. Do you see this? This is what Phantasm does on Akshan. I mean, slightly different like 3 here, I think. And also he does this on Quinn. But this is what Phantasm does, and I can do it on Kiana as well, and just go Humos. Back to Ultimate Hunter. I mean, if you rush Humos, you kinda need to go Ultimate Hunter, I think. I think a lot of coaches don't know enough, so that they go say a shit ton of info that makes them sound smart, but actually it's useless. Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. I'm rushing Humos, I thought you said it's worse. Yeah, but I'm testing it in a very specific context. I still think Humos is worse, by the way. I don't think it's better. I can also try Tiamat Rush, like Longsword refill Tiamat Rush with this setup, and then Profane, and then have insane tempo. I think Humos makes more sense with Symbiotic Souls, doesn't it? And then I can play Humos into Humos into Tiamat. Humos spikes earlier, it does, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. But I think I'm gonna run Conqueror, probably. Just for the late game. Because I'm not really trading. Actually, no, I won't. I'm gonna do Treasure Hunter. Fuck it, we try this. Okay, I'm not gonna talk too much, guys, because this is kind of a new setup. I wanna see how it goes. And I will probably lose this game, but I'm okay with that. Give me a sec here. Okay. Plus, I'm playing a really hard lane. So I'm gonna just minimize all the time and not do anything else until I have 1k gold or 650 gold, and then I'm gonna base TP. I think I'm just gonna play Humos into Profane. Guys? Yeah, I'm down with this shit. Like, I don't care. I can place a ward at Raptor Camp though, I could use this as a distraction. Why is she one wave crashing? This doesn't make any sense.
Was dumb.
Hello and welcome everyone to
What's up, fellow Qiyana mains? You're about to learn everything important regarding Qiyana for Season 14. We will be going over runes, items, combos, and also explain how Qiyana is played in lane and in teamfights. Let's get right into it with runes and items. For runes, you basically have three options. I will go over the most common option first, which is Electrocute. If you go Electro, you basically always go for Sudden Impact, you go for Eyeball Collection, and you go for Relentless Hunter or Treasure Hunter. You can also go for Ultimate Hunter. There's also an argument to be made for Ingenious Hunter because you are using Profane Hydra and Humos most of the time, but I haven't really tried it out, so I can't really recommend it. Me personally, I enjoy Relentless most because you have a lot of roaming options over the map, and it just helps you to impact the map really, really well. As for second pages, we have a lot of different options. That's first of all Precision. This is a page that you can use in trade-heavy matchups, starting off with Presence of Mind and Last Stand. If I say trade-heavy matchups, what I mean is basically matchups where you can't really avoid trading. As for, let's say,
Are you
Zen,
retarded or something? Huh?
And Presence of Mind and Last Stand really gives you good trading power. So that's something you should definitely consider in those matchups. You will be learning which page to go for in the process, so it's really hard to just say straight up, oh, against this and that champion you take this and that rune page, you know? It's something you learn, and it's also something you basically try out and test, because every playstyle is also different. You can play Qiyana in different ways, you know? So after having Presence of Mind and having Last Stand, what you will go for is basically Adaptive Force twice and then Scaling Health. This is the best in basically every game. There's no game where I would go for something else. I don't think that Tenacity gives you that much value, and I also don't think that helps give you that much value even in harder matchups. You could maybe make the argument that you go for health scaling and for health, but I think that basically takes away trading power from you, because you are basically giving away 9 adaptive force, which is not worth. Going over to the next second page is Sorcery. I don't really use this. I know that Beifeng used this for some time. He uses Mana Flow Band and also Surge. This is really good if you stop your enemy basically, because Surge is really good poking. And this can also be good against enemies that you can hit a lot. So it's something you can try out and you can play around with, but I wouldn't really bank on it. I'm not using this at all. I wouldn't really consider any of the other ones. You could try them out. Maybe there's something that the other world hasn't really discovered yet, but I don't really play any of these. So yeah, let's go on to the next one. The next one is basically Resolve. You have a couple of options here. You basically take the Resolve tree into matchups where you are getting traded extremely hard. Let's say Karma, for example. Let's say Orianna. Let's say Syndra. Let's say Nico. Let's say LeBlanc, right? These are matchups where you are taking the Resolve tree. You can go for Second Wind if they have a lot of constant poke, like, for example, Karma or Orianna. Or you can go for Bone Plating if they have really hard engage, for example, Fizz, if you want to take Resolve into Fizz, right? So you have these two options. You don't really take any of these ones above. So the secondary rune that you will go for is either Overgrowth or Unflinching. I personally prefer Overgrowth. The health is really nice. And Unflinching is not really something I play around a lot, because to be honest, if you get CC'd on Qiyana, you are most likely just going to pop anyways. So it's more important to play the fights like properly, because Tenacity is not really offering you that much. So this is the page that I go for most of the time into really hard matchups where people are just trading me all the time. And then we have the Inspiration tree, and this is probably my most important tree, if I'm being honest. Triple Tonic at Minion DMAT is just such a nice combination. The reason being is, no matter which matchup you play against, if you use this pot, like the level 3 pot, gain an Elixir of Avarice, you gain 40 gold when that Elixir basically expires, right? So if you combine that with the opportunity to just demat a minion and clear waves faster with your Rock Q early on, you are getting Dirk extremely early, especially if you are going for Longsword early on, right? So that's something you can always do, and then also you run TP, which means that you can just reset and get Dirk after 3 or 4 minutes, which is actually quite crazy. And that gives you really good trading power, and if you roam, you're really strong as well, so that's something I really enjoy doing. So yeah, these are the 4 pages you can basically go for if you run Electrocute. I run Inspiration, Resolve, and Presence of Mind most of the time. But actually Resolve and Inspiration are the most common ones. One typical matchup for precision is probably Z, because, I mean, that's a really, really trade heavy matchup. He can basically force you to trade with him whenever he uses WEQ, and he uses that whenever it's on cooldown. So, yeah, that's about Electrocute. Next page you could go for is First Strike. I don't really like this that much. I think the only time where I would actually go for First Strike is if you're playing against the Bruiser mid lane. So let's say Renekton, let's say Set. Or if you're playing against Vex, that's also one option, because Vex is just... I mean, I don't enjoy saying that something is unplayable, but Vex is just... You can't do anything. So going for a Scaling Rune right here is not that bad. You could go for First Strike. You could go for Triple Tonic, Minion Teammate, and then for Cosmic Insight. If you want, you can also go for Magical Footwear, and you can also go for Biscuits. You can also do that if you go for Electro, but I don't really like it. I think that Triple Tonic and DMAT is just the much better option, for me personally. And then you can basically go for two options right here. You can either go for Domination, which would be Sudden Impact, and then Ultimate Hunter, Relentless, Ingenious, or Treasure, as you prefer. Or you can go for Resolve, and then also Bomb Plating, Second Wind, and then also, again, like Overgrowth.